Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the subject Organization of Commerce and Management. And the first chapter is Introduction of Commerce and Business. This particular chapter has been divided into three sections. The first section talks about the introduction, followed by difference between economic and non-economic activities. The section also includes the three different types of economic activities, that is business, profession and employment. The second section talks about business objectives as well as role of profit in business. The last section classifies the business activity into industry and commerce. The chapter ends with certain question and answer discussions. In the first part, we will initially discuss about human activities. There are two types of human activities. One is non-economic activity and the other is economic activities. Non-economic activities are those human activities which are performed to satisfy personal, social, religious, cultural and sentimental requirements without any monetary expectation. Remember the word without any monetary expectation. For example, we read books, we serve people, our parents or mother or father cook for us. These are all non-economic activities. Whereas economic activities are those actions which involve production, distribution and consumption of goods and services at a cost. For example, a worker who is working in a factory, he does the work and he is being paid for it. Let us now try to understand each of these economic activities in detail. What is business, what is profession and what is employment? Business represents the organized efforts by an individual or group of an individual. Generally, business results in production of goods and services, and a business sells these goods and services at the market to reap profit. Three important components: that there is organized efforts, there is a production of goods and services, and there is a profit. Business can be defined as the organized efforts of individual to produce and sell for a profit the goods and services that satisfy society's need. Now, business has certain features. Now, these features could be enlisted: that it is an economic activity, that it is being done to earn certain profit, money. There are two parties involved, minimum, that is, there has to be a seller and there has to be a buyer of that good. Profit has to be the motive for earning the business. Production of goods and services has to be there. You must be producing certain goods which you'll be selling, and obviously that goods and services has to be exchanged, and there has to be continuity in dealing. One particular transaction does not constitute business. So for example, if you sell a motor car and earn a profit, it's not a business, it's just one transaction. Whereas if you are in a business of selling goods and services, cars, that is a business. There is an uncertain return. That means a business may have a profit or may have a loss. Both sides are there. You cannot have a guaranteed profit. And therefore, there is an element of risk of bearing a loss. However, we can reduce the risk by making right choices. And lastly, the business is focused on customer satisfaction. So in short, we can enlist the 10 features of business as an economic activity. There has to be two party. Profit has to be there. Production and exchange of goods and services has to be there. There has to be continuity in dealing. Uncertain returns may be expected. There is an element of risk and a customer satisfaction. Moving on, let's understand what is a profession. Profession is different from business in the sense that even though it is an economic activity, a person uses his educational knowledge and special skill to render services. For example, doctor gets a degree of a MBBS and therefore he can practice as a doctor and provide his services to the society and in return get some money. Similarly, a lawyer gets a LLB degree and he can practice in a court of a law and in return he gets certain money from his clients. Similarly, a chartered accounting as well. So doctors, lawyers and chartered accounting etc. can be considered as a profession. There are certain features of a profession. Profession also has certain aim. The aim is to render service as well as to earn a money. Second, qualification. A profession can be practiced only after acquiring a certain qualification. A doctor cannot practice medicine unless and until he has got his degree. Similarly, there has to be a financial return. Professionals are providing certain services, they need to get certain income. A capital. Profession can be practiced independently or professionals can work under someone. So, for example, a chartered accountant can set up his own firm or he can work under a chartered accountant. Fifth feature is registry and membership. So, every profession has to be registered and there has to be a membership. For example, ICAI is a body which registers chartered accountant and after completion of their course gives them a membership. This particular profession cannot be transferred to other professional. A doctor cannot tell his son to start practicing unless he is competent enough. And therefore, these are the main features. There has to be an aim, qualification, financial returns, capital, registration, non-transferability, and nature of work. Let's move on and understand what is employment. Employment is different than business and profession to that context that there is an employer-employee relationship. A person is working, he is providing his services and he is getting certain money. That is called as employee. So here the aim is to earn money and provide services. Qualification, every job requires different qualifications. Some people are called as skilled, some have unskilled job. For example, job of a nurse is of a skilled job. They get certain money, either salary or wages in return of the services. There is no capital which is required for them to put in a business, in a employer's business. There is no registration which is required to be an employee. Employment can also not be transferred. The person who is an employee has to work, and nature of work will be vary from work to work. So in short, if I classify the difference between business, profession and employment, business is something where people come together, set up certain goals and there has to be profit motive. Whereas profession is whereas a experienced professional who has certain degree and can use his educational qualification and knowledge to render certain services like doctor, lawyer and CA. Whereas employee is somebody who works in a company, gets certain money and in return he provides certain services. That's all we have studied in the first part. In the next part, we'll discuss about business objectives. In the second part, we are going to discuss about the business objectives, that is economic as well as social objectives, and the role of profit in business. Let's start with business objectives. Businesses are classified into two kinds of objectives. First is economic objectives and social objectives. Economic objective means those objectives which earn monetary benefits to them. For example, earning profit. Profit is required for survival of any business and for its growth. Searching new customers. Business organizations have to work hard to create and find new customers and also to maintain the existing customers. Third economic objective is innovation. It is a development or positive change which results into improvement in product and processes. So the companies have to spend good amount of money on research and development so that they are way ahead of their competitors. And lastly, business best possible use of resources. Resources are very scarce and those resources have alternative uses. Therefore, it is very important to avoid wastage of any resource and reduction in cost can help them increase in profit. Therefore, the economic objectives are earning profit, searching new customers, innovation and best possible use of resources. Moving on to the social objectives of a business activity, it includes supplying quality products, because once you provide a quality product to the customer, there is a durability, there is good brand image. Second, avoiding unfair trade practices. The businesses should not get into misleading advertisement, wrong measurement, black marketing. All these things should be avoided as they impact the brand of the customer negatively. Third, employment generation. Business is basically a socio-economic institution. Therefore, business also provides skilled and unskilled employment to different sections of people. Welfare of employee. Skilled and unskilled workers are part of the society. So if the employee are properly taken care of, it brings further welfare to the society. This can be achieved by paying fair remuneration, good working condition, and offering incentives to them. Social objective is also to help to solve social problems. For example, there is rapid industrialization which is leading to lot of problems related to traffic's growth of slum. Business should be aware of that and try to innovate and try to solve few of these problems. And lastly, contribution to the welfare of society. Business houses should take care of general welfare of the society. For example, they should donate for good causes and also for scholarship for higher education. Therefore, the social objective includes supplying quality products, avoiding unfair trade practices, employment generation, welfare of employee, helping to solve social problems, and contribution to the welfare of society. The second part in this section talks about role of profit in business. Every business operates with an aim to earn profit. That is, the revenue should be more than the cost. Profit is equal to revenue minus total cost. So what are the roles of profit in business? There are multiple roles which profit has in business. First, it is a return to the investor. The people who invest money in a business expect certain returns. And this profit, the higher the profit, higher is the return on the investment. Second, research and development. If you have higher profit, you can spend good amount of money in research and development, which can lead to better technology at lower cost, and innovative product can benefit the company as well as nation. Third, growth and expansion. If a company has higher profit, it will have higher internal accruals. This profit can be used further in the business to increase the volume of business and also in diversification. This reinvested profit can give them further profits. Fourth role of profit in business is increasing efficiency. Profit facilitates payments of various dues on time. The company which is profitable intends to pay to its employee its salary on time, to its vendors on time, which overall leads to efficiency of the entire organization. The next role of profit is means of livelihood. Businessmen earn profit, which is their means of livelihood. By earning sufficient profits, they can live a decent standard of life and satisfy their other wants. Reward for risk. Profit is considered as reward for the risk which a person has taken. Profit also serves as a protection against those risks which cannot be insured. For example, fall in demand or adverse government policies. So these are the things which are beyond our control. If we have a profit, we can consider them. We will have some amount of money even in bad situation. And lastly, survival. It helps the business to continue to exist in the market. If the business does not make enough profit, it will not survive in a competitive environment. So to sum up, the role of profit in business is to give returns to the investor, to focus more on research and development, to give growth and expansion, increase efficiency. It's a means of livelihood, it's a reward for risk, and it is survival. In the third section, we are going to study classification of business activity. Business activities are broadly classified into industry and commerce. These are the two broad classifications. Industry implies the economic activities that are associated with the conversion of resources into goods that are ready for use, which means industry produces the goods. This would include production and processing of goods. The goods produced may be consumed or may be capital goods. Now, normally the consumer goods are directly consumed by the final consumer, whereas capital goods are used by other industry for further production of goods. The term industry also means group of firms producing similar or related products. For example, when we say sugar industry, it would include all manufacturing units producing sugar from sugarcane. Let us divide the industry further into three categories. That is the primary industry, secondary industry, and tertiary industry. Primary industry is concerned with nature. It is a nature-oriented industry. The production of primary industry may be used as an input for secondary industry. So, primary industry could involve agriculture industry, genetic industry, or executive industry. Whereas the secondary industry, the industry depends on primary industry for its raw material needs, and then it converts it into a finished example. For example, tomatoes are provided by primary industry and it is used in the secondary industry to make sauce and ketchup. Secondary industry could be further of two types: manufacturing industry or construction industry. Manufacturing industries are engaged in transforming raw material into finished product with the help of machine and manpower. Final goods may be capital goods or consumer goods. Example, sugar, textiles, paper industry are all manufacturing industry. Whereas construction industry, these industries are engaged in the construction of buildings, dam, bridges, road, tunnels, etc. In case of other industry, goods can be produced at one place and sold at other places. Whereas here the goods are sold and made at the same place. This is the only industry which creates immovable wealth. And third kind of industry is called as tertiary industry. They provide support and services to the primary and the secondary industry. Services facilitates are provided to these industry. It includes transport, banking, which comes under this. It could also include tourism, entertainment, etc. Now let's try and move ahead to understand what is commerce. Commerce is that part of business activity which is concerned with distribution of goods and services which are produced by the industry. So largely the focus is on distribution of the goods and services which are produced by industry is called as commerce. It includes all those activities which are essential for maintaining a free and uninterrupted flow of goods. Commerce bridges the gap between the producer and the consumer. Commerce is further divided into two categories, that is trade and auxiliary to trade. Let us understand trade in detail. There could be a home trade and foreign trade. Home trade means buying and selling of goods and services which take place within the boundary of a country. So within the boundary of country, that is within India, it's called as home trade or internal trade. It is generally conducted in the local currency. Whereas foreign trade which takes place between two countries is called as foreign trade. Here the boundary of the two countries are crossed. The home trade is further divided into wholesale trade and retail trade. As we all know, wholesale means purchasing of goods in bulk. So wholesale trader purchases the goods into large quantity and then sells to small retailers. Whereas retail traders purchase from wholesaler and sell it to the final consumer. So that is the difference between wholesale trade and retail trade. The foreign trade is also divided into three categories, which is called as import trade, export trade and entrepot trade. Import trade means when goods and services are imported, which means it is purchased from another country to our country, is called as import trade. However, when goods and services are sold to the foreign country, that is called as export trade. So when India sells something to China, that's called as we are exporting. Whereas when we import or when we buy something from US, that is called as an import trade. And the last is entrepot trade. It is a combination of import and export, wherein we import from one country and then we export to another country. That could be called as entrepot trade. The second type of trade, a second type of commerce after trade is called as auxiliary to trade. Now, what is auxiliary to trade? All those activities that facilitate smooth flow of goods from manufacturing sectors to the consumption centers are called as aids to trade or auxiliary to trade. These activities play a supporting role. For example, transport, warehousing, insurance, advertising, banking, communication, all these form part of auxiliary to trade. The goods are produced at one place and they are required to be supported or transported to the other place. That is called as transport. Warehousing, there is a gap between production and consumption, which means we are producing X quantity which is higher than what is being consumed. So it has to be stored somewhere, and that is where warehousing comes into picture. Warehousing means storing of goods. There are various risks involved into business. So we need to do insurance is done, so that if in case goods are destroyed in transit, there is some compensation which we get. Banking, we require money to set up a business, for which banking helps us. Advertising is an effective tool for selling the goods. So producer communicates all information about goods and services to create a long desire in consumer to buy their products, which can be done through different modes of advertising. Communication. In today's world, there is an information explosion. The information has to be communicated. So there is a need for communication facilitating the traders, producer and consumer. So this can be done via email, phone, etc. So in short, there's a difference between industry and commerce. There's a difference between profession, employment and business. And there's a difference between business and commerce, which we all have already discussed.